This is a very familiar engine for me because I have done close to 70,000 kilometers on my BS4 KTM Duke 390. But once you taste the smoothness of the twin cylinders, then it's very difficult to come back to a single. Only thing is that you need to be upwards of 4000 RPM at any given point of time. The more the torque is delivered at the lower RPM, the better is for that bike, because these bikes will be venturing out in the off-roads or the jungles, in the unusual scenarios. There you don't need speed. You are crawling, but when you're crawling you need that torque to get that momentum. 457's engine, it has abundance of torque in the low end. That's why I think whenever the 2RX 457 comes out, that will be an amazing motorcycle. The next thing is the heating, because it has a very huge radiator and it has 2 radiator fans, so the cooling is much better than the KTM Duke 390, as well as the silencer goes from below the engine. On my Duke 390 the silencer used to go from the left side of the engine. On the BS4 version it used to generate a lot of heat. But lovely suspension. The moment I hold the brakes, the front is diving inside. That's what you want from an adventure bike. I just wonder how the suspension would be on the Himalayan and the new KTM 390 Adventure. After riding the RS457, it feels like there is no exhaust on this bike. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's 11:54 AM right now. I am leaving for office, but today my ride is not going to be on my RS457. This bike is going to be here. I'm not taking this bike. I am taking the adventure tourer. That's the KTM Adv 390. This belongs to my cousin brother. He is Aditya. You might have seen me in that Maridmilli and the Araku trip which I did in the month of July. This bike traveled with me for 1700 kilometers trip, and because I have some work and I cannot do that work on the RS457, I am taking the ADV 390 today. And this is my car park. Right now my car is in the service center. I'll give you an update what happened to my car sometime later, probably in a week or two. But in today's video you are going to see me riding the Adventure 390, and I'll give my impression of how it feels like when a SuperSport guy who regularly rides his bike to office, and then if he shifts to a ADV bike, what's the difference, what's the seating position, and how is the comfort level like. So it's going to be a fun video, and this is absolutely something different that I'm doing today on my channel. So let's get started with the video. The seating position is really very tall on this bike. Not used to such a high seat height, but it's okay. Let me switch on the console. Says ready to race. Looking at this console, it's like nostalgia to me, because I get reminded of my KTM Duke 390 days, because the engine character and the TFT console, everything is same. It's just that it has a different riding stance. Oh shit, I forgot my ID card. I need to get that. So, got my ID card just now. Now it's time to leave for office. The bike is low on fuel. First I will fuel it up and then head towards office. So I filled 400 rupees of fuel because I just have to go to office and come back. I filled 400 rupees of fuel and it still says there is no fuel. What's this? It should give me ideally at least 2 lines of fuel. I think after some time it will read the fuel level. Let me give you a background about this bike. This is 2.5 years old and Aditya has ridden it for 9,993 kilometers. He is not an avid rider, but because he wanted an adventure tourer bike, he bought it. He uses it for some weekend rides. Occasionally he rides this bike, but not every day. But this bike is in a very good condition because of course it's just driven for around 10,000 kilometers only. Coming to the seating position, I am super comfortable on it. The only thing is, because this is a single, it tends to vibrate on the lower revs, but the moment you cross 4000 rpm, all the vibration goes off, and after 6000 rpm is when this bike is actually enjoyable. Like, all the vibration smoothens out, and you'll be able to enjoy this bike nicely. The only place where it struggles is the low end torque, because KTM's on this first generation engines, they had very less torque, below 4000 rpm. The new Adv 390 that is coming on the LC4C platform, that particular bike has the KTM Duke 390's engine, and that is even more torqueier than this engine. But that bike is going to be a game changer whenever it launches, probably in January or December this year. But yeah, this bike also changed the entire segment when it got launched in the year 2020. I think it was showcased in the year 2019 EICMA. And after 5 years, again they are coming up with the successor of the Adv 390. The best thing about these adventure tourers is the seating comfort, the way the handlebar is placed, and the suspension travel. Though this bike is known for very less travel, but I am feeling that the suspension travel is in abundance. It is absorbing everything, because I have been riding a sports bike, the RS457 and the Duke 390 previously, and the suspension on both of these bikes are very hard. They are meant to hit the track, they are meant to be taken hard on the corners, whereas this one is meant for touring as well as bit of off-roading. Need to take a right from here, but because I'm going a little early today, usually I start at around 1 or 1:30. Today I started at 12 because I have some work while returning. I'll return earlier from office from the usual time, and for that work I need this bike. It cannot be done on the RS457. That's why I have taken this bike from Aditya. Now coming to this engine, this is a very familiar engine for me because I have done close to 70,000 kilometers on my BS4 KTM Duke 390, and this engine is the BS7 version. It's technically the same engine, only the norms has been changed, and when I compare it with my Duke, the sound is very much different. The KTM Duke 390 BS4 used to make much more louder sound from the exhaust, whereas since this is an adventure tourer, it is very quiet and silent. And after riding the RS457, it feels like there is no exhaust on this bike, because the 457's exhaust is very throaty. It has that grunt and character. But lovely suspension. The moment I hold the brakes, the front is diving inside. That's what you want from an adventure bike. I just wonder how the suspension would be on the Himalayan and the new KTM 390 Adventure. This is considered to be a stiffer suspension from all the adventure tourers. I'm not a fan of adventure tourer bikes, but this bike is meant for a purpose, because I don't do much of off-roading and all, and I want a sports bike kind of a look. I am more inclined towards those bikes, but the adventure tourers, they are awesome motorcycles, just that it's not my taste. And in adventure bikes, you need torque more than the power. The more the torque is delivered at the lower RPM, the better is for that bike, because these bikes will be venturing out in the off-roads or the jungles, in the unusual scenarios. There you don't need speed. You are crawling, but when you're crawling, you need that torque to get that momentum. That's where this engine struggles. At the low end torque, it fails to at the low end RPM, it fails to deliver that torque. Whereas the 457's engine, it has abundance of torque in the low end. That's why I think whenever the 2RX 457 comes out, that will be an amazing motorcycle for the adventure lovers, for sure. I know that BMW is also coming up with their 450 GS, which is a parallel twin engine. Not sure about the power and torque figures on that bike, but the 2RX 457 and the BMW F450 GS will be the direct rivals in future. 2RX has been spotted in a camouflage variant a month back, whereas the BMW F450 GS is a concept which is unveiled at EICMA. So both of these bikes are going to be a competitor, whereas the new KTM Duke 390 in the single cylinder space, it will be an amazing motorcycle. Till the time the BMW and the 2RX does not get launched, the KTM 390 will be the best choice for all the adventure lovers in sub 500cc segment. There is another bike, that's the Honda CB500X. It has amazing refinement, it has good reliability, everything. The only thing is the price point at which it sells, it is a little bit costlier, and we as Indian audience, we think about value for money. If you are spending 5 lakhs, how much of a bike you are getting? At that bike you'll have to shell out 7 lakh rupee. That's a lot. Whereas the KTM's, BMWs or the 2RX, this will be priced under 6 lakhs for sure. There is no modifications that has been done to this bike. Only thing is Aditya has installed a fog light, which you can see over here, and a dual horn from Roots has been installed on this bike. I have only done that on this bike, I think around 1.5 years ago. I did that because Aditya wanted that, so I did that for him. We installed all these things at home. Back then I never used to make any videos, that's why I did not record it. Apart from that, there is no other accessory that is installed on this bike. This is mostly in the stock form. And I forgot, this bike also has a quick shifter and a auto blipper. But the quick shifter and auto blipper on this bike somehow does not work that great. Not a big fan. But what I have noticed is on the other KTM 390s, the first generation of Adv 390, which was launched in 2020, on that the KTM or auto blipper and the quick shifter was working way better than this particular bike. So I think there is some issue with the quick shifter and auto blipper in this particular unit. I have just ridden 2 KTM Adventure 390s, so I am comparing both of them. In this bike the auto blipper works good, it does the job, but the quick shifter tends to get stuck at time, so you cannot rely on the quick shifter on this bike. Anyhow, you don't need a quick shifter and an auto blipper on an adventure tourer, because you will not be wide opening the throttle on the racetrack, or you're not racing. So it's okay. In these bikes you absolutely don't need all this quick shifter and auto blipper, all those stuffs. But you definitely need traction control, and this bike has a switchable traction control as well as cornering ABS, which not many other motorcycle gets. This has that feature. I was about to use the quick shifter and got stuck in between. At the second shift it took, but in the first instance it did not take. That's the lag I'm talking about. And let's see the downshifting. Yeah, downshifting, it's doing good. It's nice. No complaints with the downshifts. But I came to know that the new Duke 390s, the quick shifter is way more better than the older versions. I think they have worked on that. The next thing is the heating, because it has a very huge radiator and it has 2 radiator fans, so the cooling is much better than the KTM Duke 390, as well as the silencer goes from below the engine. On my Duke 390 the silencer used to go from the left side of the engine. On the BS4 version it used to generate a lot of heat. I did not face any heating issue even when I'm stuck in heavy traffic. And one more thing is the fuel meter is showing 3 lines of fuel, so that's a good sign. I was worried whether they have filled the fuel or not, but it did take some time to show the fuel fuel on the fuel meter. And while I was riding this bike, I have completed 10,000 kilometers on this bike. Because I have started earlier than 1 PM, so I will face a lot of traffic today. Can't help it. And from January, Amazon has announced that they are going to ask employees to come to office 5 days a week. That's going to be like how it was prior to COVID. I'm not sure how I'm going to travel. How is it going to be? It's not that I'm not used to it. I did that for around 4 years before COVID, and that time I used to travel on my Duke 390 5 days to office every week. I will have to do that again from January. really liking this position on this bike. It's like straight upright. You don't have to look down for the meter console or anything. Everything is right there up in front of you, and it has such a tall stance. Only thing is that you need to be upwards of 4000 rpm at any given point of time. The moment you drop the rpm below 4000, it will struggle a lot. And with this engine I have done 70,000 kilometers. Now I don't know how I have done that for 6 years, but on the Duke 390, because RS457's engine is effortless in the city. You just let go of the clutch and the bike will start moving. Even in the second gear from the standstill, you don't need to use the accelerator, it will move. Whereas these engines, it takes some effort to get going, or else it will stall a lot. And also the vibrations, because I am coming from a twin cylinder engine, this feels a lot vibey. Not that the Duke 390 did not vibrate, even that used to vibrate a lot. But once you taste the smoothness of the twin cylinders, then it's very difficult to come back to a single. That's there. And I can also imagine how people who ride the inline fours, they feel after they ride any parallel twin. They say that why does it vibrate a lot? That's because inline fours are the smoothest engines. It's easy to upgrade, but it's not easy to come back to from a 4-cylinder to a twin or twin to a single. Now if you tell me to ride a Duke 390 every day to office, I will not be able to do that. I'll cross all this traffic and then I will see you again. It's so irritating to ride in traffic. Because I started early for work today, I am facing a lot of traffic. It was hell lot of traffic at the Kukatpalli Y junction. I am about to reach the High-Tech City main road. Once I take a left from the main road ahead, that will be the High-Tech City main road. Then the traffic starts from the Yashoda hospital. It will be horrible. I am scared to go there at this time. From there till IKEA, it will be complete jam-packed traffic. This is what I was talking about. See the traffic here? And for next 2 kilometers, it's going to be like this. I need to keep it in the crawling traffic. I have stalled this bike multiple times today because I am used to the RS457's low end torque. And this bike stalls even in the first gear. Second gear, there is no chance that you will be able to move it in the crawling traffic. You need to be in the first. And I was used to this character of the engine when I used to ride my 390 Duke. Now because I am used to the RS457, it is getting difficult for me to cope up with the low end torque of this bike. I have reached my office and the time is 1:16. It took almost 1 hour, little more than 1 hour for me to reach at this time. That's still good. And the best thing was the bike did not heat up, so I liked it. And so this was a quick video about the Adventure 390 because I was taking this bike to office. I thought let's make a video out of it, and let me know your thoughts. If you like these kind of contents on other bikes also, I can do that. I have a lot of friends who have different categories of bike, different motorcycles. I can ride on them and show you their glimpse as well. And if you have liked this video, if you have gained some knowledge out of it, don't forget to hit that like button and also put your thoughts in the comment section below. And most of the viewers are watching the videos but not subscribing the channel. It's free for you, but it definitely helps me a lot. With that, I will sign off from this video and I will see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye.